KDWN News Time, 9 o'clock. For 20 years, Brian A. Lowe and Associates have helped Las Vegas locals protect against foreclosure and file Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcy. If you're in trouble, call 259-0002. Good morning. I'm John Schaefer with this hour's top stories. An embattled Nevada state lawmaker who's fighting to keep his seat in the legislature amid criminal and personal issues has been fired from his job with the city of Las Vegas. Democratic Assemblyman Stephen Brooks' dismissal became effective Thursday. His lawyer, Mitchell Posen, that is, calls the firing unfortunate and says he'll meet with Brooks before deciding whether it will be challenged. Brooks was a Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services management analyst. Cardinals of the Catholic Church have been praying and are now taking their oath of secrecy ahead of the conclave to choose the next pope.
In nomine Patris et Filii.
Under the soaring dome of St. Peter's Basilica, Cardinal Angelo Sodano, Dean of the College of Cardinals, celebrated a special mass for the election of a new pope. Arrayed around him, the 115 cardinal electors, wearing their red zucchetto skull caps and flowing red capes. The Mass is a prelude to the conclave when the cardinals enter the Sistine Chapel, pledge fidelity and secrecy, then close the doors, emerging to the outside world only when they've selected a new leader for the Catholic Church. Mark Smith, Vatican City.
The judge in the deadly Colorado shooting case has entered a not guilty plea on behalf of James Holmes after his lawyer said he was not ready to enter a plea. The judge says Holmes can change his plea to not guilty by reason of insanity later if he chooses. If convicted, Holmes could be executed or spend the rest of his life in prison. Metro Police will be beefing up enforcement at some of the valley's most dangerous intersections. Metro's Traffic Bureau officers will be stationed at intersections with the most crashes. Some of those include Charleston and Lamb and Decatur and Flamingo. They'll be looking for drivers who are speeding, not obeying traffic control devices, failing to yield the right-of-way, failing to stay within their lanes, talking on cell phones while driving, and driving under the influence. A bill mandating background checks for gun purchases, prohibiting armor-piercing bullets, and taxing firearm sales has been introduced in the Nevada Assembly. AB 234 is sponsored by Democratic Majority Leader William Horn of Las Vegas. It was one of two gun bills introduced yesterday. AB 232 is at the opposite end of the gun debate spectrum and would allow the carrying of concealed firearms without a permit. The president is continuing his recent interaction with members of Congress, holding his third meeting with lawmakers in less than a week.
Today's meeting with Senate Democrats is the first of 4 sessions with lawmakers over the next 3 days. The goal remains a so-called grand bargain on the budget. And while White House Press Secretary Jay Carney acknowledges it won't be easy, it appears doable.
There is a potential here, it seems to me, when you look at these broad areas of entitlement reform and tax reform, for discussion, debate, and hopefully compromise.
The trip comes as House Republicans release a budget that would block the president's health care plan and turn Medicare into a voucher-like program. Jerry Bodlander at the White House.
The financial report brought to you by Las Vegas jewelry and coin buyers. On Wall Street, the Dow's down 7 points. Gold is at $15.92 an ounce, silver $29.18, platinum $15.92, and palladium $773.50. For questions about your precious metal or coins, call 547-1670. The news brought to you by Valvoline Max Life. After 75,000 miles, switch to Valvoline Max Life Motor Oil, specially formulated to help fight engine breakdown in higher mileage cars. Max Life, because there's a lot of car left in your car. It's 9:03. Here's Mitch Kelly with the latest from the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center.
This report brought to you by the City of Las Vegas. City of Las Vegas employees are going green, saving more than $1.4 million in utility bills over the last year by conserving energy and water and recycling at city facilities. Visit lasvegasnevada.gov/YourCityWorks to learn more about how your city works for you. Problems on the eastbound side of the Southern Beltway. NHP reporting 3 accidents now, including an injury crash 215 eastbound approaching Rainbow. Go along with accidents 215 eastbound at South Jones and 215 east at South Decatur, and that's a very difficult stretch of the eastbound Southern Beltway. No other big freeway slowdowns right now. You still have those lane shifts in front of the Sahara on Las Vegas Boulevard. Northbound traffic being shifted into the southbound lanes. Earlier this morning, crews took down the old Sahara sign, and with the traffic signals at that intersection on 4-way flash, it's best to avoid Sahara at Las Vegas Boulevard if you can for the time being. From the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, Mitch Kelly, News Talk 720, KDWN.
The KDWN forecast: sunshine 77 today, clear 55 overnight, sunny and 82 for Wednesday. Right now, mostly sunny, 59 in Las Vegas. Your next update at 9:30 or when news breaks, and we're always streaming online at KDWN.com. Brought to you by Brian A. Lowe and Associates. I'm John Schaefer, News Talk 720, KDWN.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-790-4835 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 800-790-4835 to take your call now. Call 800-790-4835. That's 800-790-4835. Again, 800-790-4835.
More live local talk than any station in Las Vegas. News Talk 720 KDWN. 50,000 watts of news and talk. Be in the know when you're on the go. News Talk 720 KDWN is available wherever you are online at KDWN.com. At KDWN.com. Local, national, and international news, plus weather and traffic. All at your fingertips, all online at KDWN.com. The broadcast of information on this show does not create an attorney-client relationship with any of the listeners. Communication between the listener and the hosts of this show will not be confidential. The information provided on this show is prepared for a general audience without investigation into the facts of each particular case and is not to be considered legal advice. The information provided on this show should not be used as a substitute for legal advice. The listener is advised to consult with a qualified attorney on any legal issue they may have. It's time for News Talk 720 KDWN's Legal Hour. Have a legal question? Call now 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396.
KDWN News Time 9:07. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the KDWN Legal Hour. Each and every Tuesday, we are pleased to welcome Las Vegas attorney Airene Williamson with the firm of the Williamson Law Office. If you want to get in touch with Airene at work, 608-4072 or by email info@wlawoffice.com. Questions or comments for Airene here at the studio, 257-5396. Airene, good morning.
Good morning, John. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. I think today is part 2 of the discussion we started last week about Obamacare.
That's right. And I'm very excited to talk about Obamacare today, which is the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, or what's commonly known as Obamacare. I'm excited today, especially because we have our tax expert, Robert Wagner of Wagner & Associates, and he's also part of our Ask the Expert show. Good morning, Robert.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
I'm doing well. And he's going to help us in our tax questions, and I'm sure we're going to have some of that today. And we'll start with our Obamacare part 2. So the last time we were talking about Obamacare, we focused on how it affects small businesses and businesses in general. And just a recap, basically, Obamacare will affect your business if you're a large employer, which means if you have 50 or more full-time employees, or what we call full-time equivalent employees, you will now be required to have a healthcare coverage or affordable coverage for your employees. Now, Robert here will probably help us explain how to count or what it means to have a 50 full-time equivalent employees.
Yeah, 50 full-time employees, as it's currently defined. I mean, it is the IRS and it is Congress, so it's subject to change. And obviously, we may not have any
and
of the
confusion.
Right?
We may not have final answers. We're expecting final answers somewhere around October, which means next January we'll actually know what's going on. But as it stands right now, the 50 full employees counts as if you have 50 employees that are working 30 hours or more in a week, or that average 30 hours or more in a week during the work year, which is January 1 to 12/31.
So when did full-time employment go from 37 and a half hours a week to 30 hours a week, and why am I working so much more?
Well, it's just because you're lucky. You know, the radio show's trying to give you that overtime, man. They define 4 days a week as full-time right now because a lot of people have gone to the four-day, 10-hour schedules. But a lot of employers, you know, with the recent economic situation, what they've done is they've reduced a lot of the employees' days by 1, and therefore having more employees, so you're able to employ more people. You're just not able to give as many hours out. So you're not necessarily always going to have the full-time 37 and a half hours, but the way Congress and Obama have defined it, it comes out to an average of about 30 hours a week.
So basically, it's just a way to have fewer hours to still be someone that needs to be covered.
It's just a definition, basically, yeah. So, and if you look at it, even the government's starting furloughs on some of their defense contractors and things like that, where they're requiring them to take an extra day off for 6 months or things like that. So, you want to take a look at, how many hours do you average per week per employee? That's a key factor.
Right. And I think one of the key requirements of this Obamacare is having an affordable coverage, which we touched a bit last week, which means now employers will have to provide health care coverage that is affordable to employees, which means it cannot exceed the premium that employees are paying, 9.5% of their household income. I think, Robert, if you...
That's a true statement, yeah.
Right.
Currently, it's 9.5%, and they're trying to change that, and they're trying to get that down to somewhere in the 8% range, but as it stands right now, it's the 9.5%.
Now, I guess the question is, how do you calculate the household income? Is that going to be the whole entire household? I mean, how do the IRS go into your family and say, okay, how do we calculate, as an employer, do I go into and snoop into the employee's family income, or is it going to be determined by your individual W-2s of the employees?
And that's going to be the hard thing, is there's no really enforceable action here for one employer to determine the household income for an employee because, say you have an average household with a husband and wife with 2 incomes. How do you determine what the wife makes if the husband's making money?
And how do you determine which person's employer has to be the one to provide the coverage for your whole family too?
That would be the employer that has more than 50 full-time employees.
Right.
And that's different. And they have alternatives set up too. For some employers, it may be even cheaper for them just to pay the penalty and not offer the health coverage, and to turn the employees over to some of those SHOP programs that they're going to try to set up with the states and that are available to the smaller employees in 2014 and 15. It looks like they're going to start opening it up at the state level to the larger employees in 2016 to offer cheaper health coverage to the employees who can't afford to pay it through their employers.
Exactly. And I think for the large employers, what they're going to have to face this year is to determine, number one, what is the effect of the Obamacare if they are providing coverage? And number two is, what is the effects to the large employers if they are not providing coverage? If they are providing coverage at this point, obviously, it will have to be an affordable coverage that provides essential minimum benefits. That has been defined by the Human Health Services, although the states have disagreed and they have different requirements for what is minimum health benefits. That could include, ambulatory patient service, hospitalizations, emergency service, even dental and or dental or vision care included in that minimum essential benefit. So they're going to have to provide that now. And not only that, it's become cumbersome for employers to provide this healthcare coverage because I think, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, they will now have to provide for their dependents, full-time employees. But at this point, I don't think there is any guidance as to whether the employers will have to subsidize that or if they have to pay for it.
There hasn't been any guidance as to that yet. And that's probably some of the minutia that's very deep inside that bill. That's some of the things that are, and once again, that's an unenforceable action. How do you enforce that from the government? Now, think about it this way. Everybody got, when I sit down and I do a tax return for someone, I tell them, look at their W-2. Everybody got implants this year. In box 12, you're going to notice there's a double D code. And in that double D code, that's how much your employer spent on you in health coverage. Now, take that number. The average is somewhere around $1,000 a month per employee. Now, if you're going to pay $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year for every employee that you have to have health coverage, wouldn't it be cheaper to pay the $750 penalty per worker if you're the business? So the question is, and this is, I think, what an issue a lot of people have with that is, does the company choose to cover the employee, or do they choose to fund the government's need to raise capital? They're going to raise capital by the $750 penalty on the businesses, or the business is going to step up and pay the $12,000 a year per employee. Mm-hmm. And a lot of businesses that will kill you. It's 50 times 12,000. Do the math. Or 50 times $750. It's a lot cheaper to pay the government off than it is right now to actually cover your employees.
But will that money be enough for the government-funded plan then, or will taxpayers end up picking up the difference? So now we're paying at work, we're paying for the plan we're mandated to have, we're paying so that the government can fund the plans for the businesses that aren't providing it because it's cheaper to pay the fine than to provide coverage.
So now you got triple funding. So now you got the businesses paying for it, you got the employees paying for it through the tax paying situation. you got government trying to print more money to cover any shortages that are there. It's really just it's a train on the tracks, and at the end of the day, where we're going to end up is going to be dictated by Congress this year.
Exactly. And just to clarify, Robert, what would be the amount of penalty if I am not providing health care coverage per employee?
$750 per employee, per worker.
Wow. And if I am offering insurance that is not up to the requirement?
That's a $750 penalty, yeah. If it's not up to code and you're not offering it, then $750.
Right.
All right, we will be back with attorney Airene Williamson and accountant Robert Wagner discussing Obamacare right after we check in with Mitch Kelly in the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center.
This report at 9:15 brought to you by Garmin. Hey, traffic, don't be a hater. Get a Garmin Newbie with subscription-free HD digital traffic and avoid it with updates as often as every 30 seconds. Drive with Garmin, the most trusted name in GPS. Eastbound side of the Southern Beltway between Rainbow and South Decatur, 3 accidents. That's producing some big slowdowns over that stretch. Again, that's 215 eastbound, 3 wrecks between Rainbow and South Decatur. No other freeway problems, though. Lane shifts continue along Las Vegas Boulevard in front of the old Sahara Hotel. Crews removed the sign this morning. Northbound traffic being shifted into the southbound lanes. And traffic signals at that intersection are on flash, so that's leading to big slowdowns on all sides there. Best to avoid the strip at Sahara for now. Your next update's at 9:30. And from the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, it's Mitch Kelly on News Talk 720 KDWN.
You have a foreclosure or a short sale on your credit. We can fix that now. You've got an IRS tax lien, a judgment, a repo on your credit. We can fix that now. At Credit Restoration in Nevada, all we do is fix credit. We're the foreclosure and short sale removal specialist. Don't live with bad credit for 7 years. Pick up the phone and call us. We'll fix your credit now or you don't pay. Credit Restoration of Nevada, 778-2000 or online at LasVegasCreditRepair.com. Let us remove your short sale or foreclosure now.
If you've been living in your house for free, it's just a matter of time before they foreclose on you. My name is Ido Gavish of Gavish Real Estate, and I can and will sell your home regardless of your situation. Call me today at 255-1145.
If you have a problem with your teeth and you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. AQ Denture and Implant Center has helped over 25,000 people in the Las Vegas and Henderson areas with affordable quality dental service since 1975. I'm Jim Dallas of Beasley Broadcasting. Dr. Mira Kandia helped me smile again, and he can do the same for you this summer. Whether you need crowns, bridges, dental implants, or an extreme dental makeover, call 565-6000. That's 565-6000 for AQ Denture. Smile again with confidence.
Listen to The John Brislin Show for the best in late-night political talk Saturday nights from 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. John Brislin hits hard and tells it like it is. The only way to turn the double talk into straight talk. Call in Saturday nights from 11 p.m. to midnight with John Brislin live.
Now back to KDWN's Legal Hour. Have a legal question? Call now. 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396.
KDWN News Time, 9:17. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the KDON Legal Hour with attorney Airene Williamson and her guest, accountant Robert Wagner. We're discussing Obamacare, its effect on businesses, and just the confusion that is.
Right, and I'm so glad Robert's here because he is the expert on the tax consequence of the Obamacare. So if you have any questions on tax, this is the time to do it.
All right, we do have a phone call for you. Chuck is on the line. Good morning, Chuck.
Yeah, hi, Robert. And what was your name?
Irene. Good morning, Chuck.
Irene. Yeah, there's over 1,200 companies getting waivers, and I don't know if the listeners know that out there. Most of them are unions. You're aware of that, right?
Right.
And how do you get the waiver?
Well, you have to apply with the government to get the waiver, and that's going to be really right now. There's no sense in even there's no final answer of whether the new waivers are even going to be needed at this point because Congress really hasn't finalized what they're going to do, and Congress isn't even really going to have a final answer for enforcement or for what how they're going to handle the waivers and what the penalties are going to actually be, and those answers aren't expected until sometime in October. And traditionally, since Congress has shown that they may not actually get that answer until sometime in January of 2014.
Right. And every time they release a legislation, obviously the IRS will release what is called a commentary or a notice. So they will have to interpret what the legislation is. And I think at this point, Robert, there has not been a lot of interpretation as far as the Obamacare. I think every month, every time I follow this, they release probably 200 pages every month, and nobody can understand what it is. Not only that, they don't even have an answer on a lot of the pertinent provisions of the Obamacare.
Yeah, the IRS has had their budgets cut, so they're not really in a quick hurry to respond to Congress as far as Obamacare goes. They'll deal with it when they get their final answer, and I'm sure the commissioner will come down and issue his revenue ruling or his commentary, and to try to determine exactly, okay, look, this is the final answer. Here's what we're going to do going forward. Here's what it is. And until that revenue ruling comes out, we don't even know what impact those waivers will have on anything.
Another question on bartering. A lot of these country doctors, they pay in, cattle or, will that be eliminated? Is that kind of the idea of some of this stuff?
Well, the IRS has been trying to eliminate bartering since its inception in early 1900s. Bartering has been a system in this country that has perpetuated untaxed income for years, and the IRS's compliance and their audit department has been trying to break that down. And it's really hard to prove bartering on a lot of levels, but that's a area of high audit intensity that the IRS takes a look at when they take a look at any business in an audit situation.
Or if I pay with a gold piece or a silver piece, that sounds like they're trying to eliminate everything.
Yeah, they're trying to eliminate all that. They're trying to eliminate what they call the underground economy.
All right, Chuck, thank you very much for your call. 257-5396 if you have a question or comment for Irene or Robert. All right, let's get into this whole who is an employee, who's not an employee, because that seems to be, we got a lot of calls about that last week. People seem confused about who is, who's not, who counts, who doesn't.
Well, let's talk about first, I think, the independent contractor, because that's a lot of emails I got over the weekend is, what if I am an independent contractor, or what can I do to convert my employees to independent contractors so I don't, get enforced by the IRS to follow the Obamacare? And the question is, should you convert your employees to independent contractor, or at least hire a lot of independent contractor? And I think there's going to be a lot of audit effect when you do that. Robert, what do you think about the independent contractors?
Well, when you say independent contractor, let's replace independent contractor with the word self-employed. Right. Anytime someone is an independent contractor for you, you lose all complete and total control of any of their actions. They become employed as themselves. They can come and go as they please, do as they please, take your clients with them should they choose to go and open their own business. So say you're a pizza restaurant and, you got a delivery guy. I'm going to pay him as an independent contractor. How many times, that happens all the time. So what happens if that pizza guy saves up all of his tips? He's got $100,000. He buys a pizza practice and he builds it right next to yours. Well, he worked for me. He can't do that. No, he's an independent contractor. He said he's self-employed, so he can do whatever he wants and he can take your clients. And guess what? He's been out driving out to their houses and he's been meeting them and talking to them, building relationships with all of your clients. And by making him an independent contractor, you can't really, you don't have any control over what that person does going forward.
Now, would it be a good idea, for example, if I'm an employer, to convert my employees and give them 1099 instead of W-2? And that's a lot of questions that I get from clients. Should I just give them 1099? And can I get away with it? That's basically what they're asking.
You could probably get away with it for a while, and eventually the IRS is going to come down and they're going to say, "Hello, Mr. Employer. Here's an SS-8." That's the form that they're going to come to you with, and they're going to say, "Yeah, since you paid, John Q. employee as a 1099, but you told them what time to be to work, you gave him a computer to work on, and you gave him the clients to handle the business with, and the phone calls he answered were, generated by you. Okay, so we're going to treat him as an employee, but it's really not fair for us to go after John Q. employee because you treat him as a contractor. It's not going to be fair to him to really come after him and try to make him pay the Social Security and Medicare tax. So, Mr. Business Owner, what we're going to do is, since day one, you're going to pay John Q. employees Social Security and Medicare tax. That's going to be 16.3 of his wage. And you know what? That's really considered a version of tax fraud. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a civil fraud penalty of 90% of that. So you're going to pay the 15, you're going to pay about 30 cents on the dollar for every dollar you paid John Q. employee for ever since the day of inception. And because it falls under the fraud situation, there is no statute of limitations. If you've ever done this, they can go back as far as they want. In some cases, they'll prosecute it on the nice side. They'll be very generous to you, and they'll do civil fraud. That way they don't have to go to a court of law and try to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they really got you by the shorts, they're going to press in criminal fraud, and you're going to possibly face some time in prison. So converting your employees
go.
to independent contractors is really a bad situation for you, especially if you're doing it to avoid or to take what they consider to be a frivolous tax position, which is trying to avoid paying anything for the Obamacare.
Right,
That's still a frivolous tax position, even though we don't like the rules, even though we don't agree with the rules, even though we may not necessarily want to follow the rules. Those are still the rules, and we have to find a way to work within those parameters and to protect yourself in the best way possible. There's so many small businesses out there that can write off up to 35% of the healthcare premiums as a tax credit. So really, how come you're not going to your tax guy and saying, hey, Mr. Taxman, you did my business return. How come I don't have a healthcare credit on here? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the form. They set aside, I think the number is $190 million for this healthcare credit. That's what the IRS expected to pay out on it. They used under $38 million of that. And so there is a good chunk of money sitting there for healthcare premiums of tax credits the IRS is dying to give you. We expect to give it to you. Here you are, free tax credits. There's a pile of money sitting in the corner of the room, and you may not be you may not be looking at your tax return the right way. If you got less than 50 employees, there's some healthcare credits. You can get up to 50% of the premiums you pay for your employees. Exactly. Why would you not take that? That's free money sitting on the table.
Now, let's talk about tax credit for a bit,
Sure.
because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Are large employers qualify for tax credit, or is it just small businesses, which is under 50 or under 25, I should say?
Small businesses under 49.
Okay.
Under 49. So 0 to 25 is a different type of credit. 26 to 49 is a different credit. And then over 50, it's a whole other ballgame.
Now, for tax credits on small businesses, is that going to take effect in 2014? And how long are those tax credits going to last?
It's been available. I mean, we can go back to 2010, 11, and 12 and get you 3 years worth. I was just telling you guys on the break, there's a doctor in Seattle. She gets $25,000 a year for this tax credit.
Right.
That's $25,000 she's not paying in tax because she pays for her employees' health benefits.
And the reason I bring that up is because it's interesting enough, a lot of accountants probably not as aware of the Obamacare are not aware of these tax credits, which is a sad state.
They, a lot of people, they're afraid to step out of that box and take credits like this because they're not always there, or it's a temporary credit, or there's not a lot of literature out there on it. There's not a big class on it, And if you're not educated on that particular credit, you could find yourself in hot water. And the last thing people want to do is get their clients in hot water. But you're an accountant. You do taxes. Tax season's only 90 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
Really? So you have, 90 minus 365 is what? 275 days? So you have 275 days to go out there and figure out how to use the healthcare credit. Yeah. I mean, this is what you do for a living. To take it seriously, go out there and learn these credits. I take 250 hours a year of education. I'm only required 30. Why would I take extra? Well, because my clients deserve it. They pay me to know that stuff. And if you're not putting the time into it and you don't know, and a lot of accountants are very much in the box thinkers because they're accountants. It's by the Excel spreadsheet, by the graph. There's no out of the box. Mm-hmm. There's no personality. Everything's black or white. It's a gray suit and black pants. It's really a black and white world. And there's not a lot of color in it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about seasonal employees. A lot of, obviously, retailers, ski resorts are employing seasonal employees.
Yeah, you get ski resorts. You get a lot of retailers that are hiring people over the holiday season for 2 or 3 months at a time. You get a lot of people like H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt. They hire people for 90 days a year.
True.
True. If you've seen the commercial, the guy's doing your plumbing, but he was doing your taxes last week. So as far as seasonal employees, when you're looking at yourself and you're saying, okay, well, I hire 75 employees for 90 days a year, and I hire them for more than 30 hours a week, and that's we said 30 hours a week is the amount of hours that we're using. If you take a look, you're only using them for 90 days. And the thing is, you want to have those employees average 30 hours a week over a 52-week period. So those employees, those seasonal employees, will not count towards being permanent full-time employees for the 50-employee credit because it's a 3-month cycle.
How do you do a look back? For example, this Obamacare will take effect in 2014, but in 2013, how do we calculate who is a seasonal employee and whether they qualify for Obamacare? And I guess we'll touch that after the break.
Absolutely.
We will give you the break to think about it. Robert Wagner, Airene Williamson, we will be back right after we check in with news, traffic, and weather on News Talk 720 KDWN.
If you would like quality diamonds at exceptional prices, then come to Tom Tutman's Diamond Mine. If you would like sparkling 2-carat Marquise cuts for only $49, then come to Tom Tutman's Diamond Mine. If you would like the personal service you've come to expect from Tom Tutman himself, then do not come to Tom Tutman's Diamond Mine, because Tom Tutman passed away last week at the age of 47, leaving his wife and 3 children, struck down in his prime by the same disease that got his father, so he won't be around to care for his family. And the sad part is, it all could have been detected early with a simple test. But Tom didn't get it.
Have you gotten the medical tests you need? For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov. Once again, that's ahrq.gov. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
50,000 watts of news and talk. News Talk 720 KDWN, Las Vegas, the dawn of today's talk radio.
AP Update. I'm Sandy Kozel. The Papal Conclave is beginning in the ornate Sistine Chapel at the Vatican. This is the sound of the cardinals as they processed into the chapel. Led by prelates holding a crucifix and candles, the 115 cardinals chanted the Litany of Saints, the Gregorian chant imploring the intercession of the saints to help them choose the next pope. Dressed in their scarlet and white, they are now one by one taking turns reciting an oath in Latin. Here's Boston's Cardinal Sean O'Malley.
Ed ego Ioannis Patricius Cardinalis O'Malley, spondio volvio ac iuro, sigme Deus adjuvet et haec sancta Dei.
Once the doors to the Sistine Chapel close, the cardinals will most likely take their first vote. It is not expected a new pontiff will be chosen in that first ballot. AP Update. I'm Sandy Kozel.
2 in the K-Dawn 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center with an update brought to you by Station Casinos. 2 accidents remain on the eastbound side of the Southern Beltway, one at Rainbow, the other between Rainbow and South Jones, but earlier delays in the area due to those accidents have dissipated. No other big freeway problems. We still have lane shifts causing big headaches in front of the old Sahara Hotel on Las Vegas Boulevard. It was down with the old Sahara sign earlier this morning. Now it's up with the new SLS sign, and crews need room to work. So you've got those northbound lanes on Las Vegas Boulevard shifting onto the southbound side. And at that intersection, Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard, traffic signals are on flash. So that's creating big backups. Again, best to avoid Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara for the time being. KDWN weather, nice. Sunny skies, 77 for a high this afternoon. Currently 60 degrees in Las Vegas. And more of the K-Dawn Legal Hour with attorney Airene Williamson's coming up. From the K-Dawn 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Mitch Kelly at News Talk 720 KDWN.
Win up to $10,000 in free cash and prizes Fridays and Saturdays through March 23rd. Station Casino's $2 million Everybody Wins giveaway. 2 ways to win. Swipe for guaranteed prizes and over $400,000 in drawing cash at all Station Casinos and Fiestas.
Do you have hidden treasures laying around your house? Hi, this is John Burnett of Las Vegas Jewelry and Coin Buyers. Join me on Ask the Experts every Monday night at 6 p.m. on News Talk 720 KDWN, where we will discover valuables you have that you can convert to cash.
The world's fastest motorsport is returning to Las Vegas. Experience side-by-side racing so powerful that all 5 of your senses will melt into one at the SummitRacing.com NHRA Nationals, April 5th through 7th. You won't want to miss Brittany Force, daughter of 15-time world champion John Force, in her Top Fuel debut at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Bring the whole family. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Purchase in advance and save at LVMS.com or call 800-644-4444.
Well, we changed the clocks, except for you folks in Arizona. Time to spring forward. With the days getting longer, there's more chances for people to see you in the daylight. So don't you want to look your best? KDWN's John Schaefer here with just what you need to blossom into spring. Ovation Cell Therapy. You've heard me talk about Ovation Cell Therapy before, about how my hair's thicker, stronger, and longer, about how my hair's more manageable than it was in the past, about how my friends and coworkers have noticed the difference in my hair and the difference in my confidence level. Since I know I look better, I feel better. If Ovation Cell Therapy can do that that for me, imagine what it can do for you. But it's not going to do anything if you don't give it a try. Log on to ovationhair.com. Make sure you enter 720 AM KDWN at checkout to receive your special introductory discount. Ovation Cell Therapy is great for all hair types and all hair colors. And guys, the best thing for us is the special men's formula. It gives us the same thicker, stronger, longer hair as the ladies, but it comes with a great Wood Creek scent so we don't smell all flowery all day. Just log on to ovationhair.com. Make sure you enter 720 AM KDWN at checkout to receive your special introductory discount.
The answer to our nation's economy lies in our rural areas. All the building blocks that we need to bring our nation back are in those rural areas. Tune in to Rural Nevada Today every Saturday morning from 6 to 7 and learn why. Listen to our show anytime by going to our website, ruralnevadatoday.com.
Now back to KDWN's Legal Hour. Have a legal question? Call now. 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396.
KDWN News Time, 9:35. Welcome back to the KDWN Legal Hour with attorney Airene Williamson from the Williamson Law Office discussing Obamacare. She brought a special guest with her today, accountant Robert Wagner, who is helping us with all the accounting aspects of Obamacare for which we don't know.
Right. And I think the general lesson for everyone on this Obamacare is, one, to hire an accountant and an attorney and an HR. And this is it's simply because small businesses don't generally have time to figure this out, especially something as complex as Obamacare. And I want to talk about what the Obamacare's effects are for those that have employees under 50. And a lot of my clients come to me and say, I don't really want to think about it. I don't have employees that are above 50, or I don't have a lot of part-time employees that will be equivalent to full-time employees. So I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I'll deal with it when it comes in 2014. And the lesson is, don't bury your head in the sand. Mm-hmm. This is a time for a reckoning. This is 2013. It will take effect in 2014. Even if you are under 50 employees, there are certain requirements as a small business that you have to follow. One of them is that you have to provide notice. In fact, it already took effect, if I'm not wrong on that. It already took effect on March 2013, which is this month, that you have to provide notices, which we talked about last week, on the information and exchanges where employees can get their coverage, what kind of coverage they have, what kind of levels. I think there's a silver, there's a bronze, there's a gold level for coverage. They also have to provide notices on the summary of benefits if you are providing benefits at this time for your employees. Another thing that they have to consider is that you will have to learn how this legislation will be in effect or how this will be enforced on your business. So you have to keep up on the information that is continually coming out every month from the IRS, either through a notice or their commentaries. So you have to keep track of that, learn. And another thing that they have to consider for small businesses is how to identify and characterize their employees. Are they part-time? Are they temp? Are they seasonal? They have to calculate if they are part-time employees. They have to calculate their hours, average that, and see if it comes up to full-time employees. There's a lot of legwork for small businesses. So it cannot be said that I'll just ignore it because I'll just ignore it until 2014 takes effect, because at this time I don't have to follow it. But as we've talked about in the break, Robert's already preparing some of his large clients. The small clients probably not as aware of it.
Yeah, we talk about it briefly, but it's not as pressing of an issue if you're under 50 employees. I tell them, look, there's a huge tax credit out there. All you got to do is go put healthcare premiums on your employees. And, sometimes, the clients say, you know what, I don't even like my employees that much. I don't care if they're healthy as long as they show up for work. And, that's a sad state of the way things are today. But there's more employees out there than there is employers. And, you can pick your cream of the crop if you want.
Mm. Right. And I think that's one of the considerations for small businesses, even though they're not under this Obamacare requirement. One of the things they have to consider is whether they want to continue providing coverage if they are already providing coverage. Even though there's a tax credit, we don't know how long that's going to last. Robert said it's 2017, but I don't know if it's going to continue after that. I've read there's a report that actually with the reinstatement of the Obamacare, I should say instatement of the Obamacare, 8 million employees will actually drop from employer coverage just because it's so expensive for employers to continue on the coverage, especially a coverage that meets the requirements of the Obamacare. And is that something that you expect?
Yeah, think about it. The premiums are going to go through the roof. If I told you, if the government said you have to have an attorney on retainer every month that's required by law, Do attorneys' fees go up? Right. Everyone has to do right. And you're going to see turbo attorney come online instead of TurboTax. Because it's going to be turbo attorney, or you get the prepaid legal stuff and stuff like that come up because people are going to be required to have it. Just like people are required to do their taxes every year, death and taxes. I almost named my practice that. I thought that would be the funniest thing. I didn't know if the public would respond to that, but I thought about it, but that's the thing. In taxation, there is Tax Layer and Tax Act and TurboTax and Free File and VITA and all these programs you can file for free, and that's great and that's wonderful and that's awesome, and I love those programs because it's designed for the 1040EZ, the most basic return. You know what? And if you understand tax law, congratulations, go have a crack at it. When you get in trouble, just call me. I'll help you out. But if you're required to do taxes, tax preparation became more expensive. If you're required to have an attorney, the attorney's fees go up. If people could no longer file their own bankruptcies, the attorney's fees for bankruptcies would go up because you're required to have one. And as an industry, the price would raise. So what's happening with healthcare premiums? Oh, you have to have me now? Really, sucker? You haven't had me for 10 years? Right. Now you want health coverage? Oh, man, you're going to pay. I see you coming. I'm going to charge you through the nose. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people have really taken that into account. And how does that have an impact on the economy if you're required to pay another $6,000, $8,000, $1,500 a month out of your budget for health coverage that's required by the government?
On the compliance side, Robert, and probably an accounting side, what do small businesses and large employers have to prepare? Is there a change in W-2 requirements? Is there a change in how they track their businesses?
Absolutely. Yeah. On their W-2s this year, like I said, everyone has implants. So in box 12, you're getting double Ds. And those double Ds are going to show you that that there's healthcare coverage, and that's how much your employer paid for your healthcare coverage throughout the year. So I see John writing that down. It's
and because I haven't done my taxes, I haven't even looked at my W-2s yet, so I want to see.
He's looking to see if he got his implants. He wants to know how much bees he's paying out for him, right?
It's Vegas. We should all have them.
So if you look, and sometimes people will say, wow, that's a big number. That's $24,000 in there. What's that number? What did I pay $24,000 for? Oh, you didn't. That's what the employer paid for your healthcare coverage.
Right. So then you can take what your contribution as an employee and then actually figure out what your healthcare coverage costs per year.
Right. You can say, well, man, I'm spending $500 a month. That's, $6,000 a year. That sucks.
Yeah, and if I'm spending $600 and they're spending $15,000,
that's okay.
So $21,000 a year for
health coverage. And, we were talking on the break about the rebate. You were saying it's was it 80% of the premiums you were talking about?
I believe there's a medical loss ratio rebate where small businesses, especially for small businesses and large employers, they will now have to rebate their employees if the insurance carrier does not spend 80%, I believe, of the premium. So as a small business, your administrative task is to track all of your employees and all the premiums that have been paid on your employees. And this includes employees that have left your company. So you have to track their address, give them a rebate. So this just becomes an administrative nightmare for a lot of employers. So we'll see how that goes and how that will be implemented.
Man, as a business owner, I thought I didn't have enough to do. I was getting kind of bored in the afternoon.
I know, because the 80 hours a week that you have to work running your own small business 7 days a week just really isn't enough yet.
Let's just put a
little more to do.
Oh, yeah. It's something you can do in your free time, skip trace your employees to find out, and especially in Vegas, they leave town, they leave the country, they leave lots of things, and you never know where you're going to find them at.
Now, Robert, as far as taxes, for example, I'm a small business. Do I have to worry about any tax increase, either personal or on my business? Is my tax going to increase, basically?
Everybody's tax is going to increase. In 2000, when the tech bubble bust, George W. Bush put something in that we affectionately call the Bush tax cuts into place. And that has us paying the lowest amount of tax that we've ever paid on income as a country in the history of taxation, or in the history of we're paying lower tax than most civilizations have paid over the years. And looking at that, if you were to turn back the clock and look at the 1990s when we had a balanced budget and everything was even, and we even had a surplus, I think one of the years or something like that, the amount of tax we paid, if we were to go back to that, this country would have a fit. But if you think about it, we self-supported the government for like 4 or 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Where everything was balanced. We didn't spend more than we made. We managed what we did. Now, in January, the Taxpayer Advocate, she issued a report. It's like 660 pages. If they were to take out tax expenditures, okay. Now, tax expenditures are the so-called tax breaks that everybody gets. All those loopholes we all talk about. Right. Now, the government would save about $1.09 trillion in taxes. Okay, that's how much they would estimate to raise the tax bracket. Now, if they were to eliminate all of those and they were to just do a straight tax based on the current system without the loopholes, the difference is 1.36 trillion to the 1.09 trillion that they're giving away right now. So you're really looking at, it's just about an even number if you were to go to the tax without giving all the write-offs and the deductions and the credits and all that stuff. But the government really controls the economy by manipulating the tax system and forcing you to buy certain items.
Okay.
We will be back with attorney Airene Williamson and accountant Robert Wagner right after we check in with Mitch Kelly in the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center.
This update at 9:45 brought to you by the City of Las Vegas. City of Las Vegas employees are going green, saving more than $1.4 million in utility bills over the last year by conserving energy and water and recycling at city facilities. Visit LasVegasNevada.gov/YourCityWorks to learn more about how your city works for you. A couple of leftover wrecks on the eastbound side of the Southern Beltway, one at Rainbow, the other between Rainbow and Jones. Again, that's on the eastbound side. No delays from that, though. We're still seeing big-time slowdowns in front of the Old Sahara Hotel with lane shifts on Las Vegas Boulevard northbound into the southbound lanes. Crews did sign removal of the Old Sahara sign this morning, and they're doing installation of the new SLS sign as well, so they need room to work. Traffic signals at that intersection on flash as well. So, again, best to avoid Las Vegas Boulevard at Sahara for the time being. We'll have another update at 10, and from the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, it's Mitch Kelly on News Talk 720 KDWN.
We have great news. We can now refinance your home no matter how upside down you are. If you're current on your payments, contact us today to see if your loan qualifies. You could potentially lower your rate and monthly payment. Visit us at onenevada.org today or call 382-4094. One Nevada Credit Union, federally insured by the NCUA Equal Opportunity Lender.
Listen up, ladies. Right now, Bare Minerals is inviting you to participate in a special nationwide giveaway of the mineral makeup everyone's talking about. That's right. We want to let every woman try Bare Minerals' revolutionary foundation and fall in love with their skin again. This is an exclusive radio-only offer you don't want to miss. So call now, 1-800-300-1878. You've probably heard about Bare Minerals Foundation. It was quoted in Glamour magazine as a magic eraser. Allure magazine, InStyle and Elle magazines, and leaders in beauty continue to rave about how Bare Minerals Foundation is naturally radiant and good for your skin. We're letting as many women as possible try it, and you can be one of them. Bare Minerals, makeup so pure you can sleep in it. Experience the foundation that started the makeup revolution. Participate in this special opportunity to try Bare Minerals Foundation, and we'll also send you a free gift set. Just call 1-800-300-1878 now. Hurry, you don't want to miss this exclusive radio offer. 1-800-300-1878.
Having trouble telling time when your alarm goes off in the morning? Need to have someone across the table hold the menu for you when you eat out? Do you need the Reader's Digest big print version of everything? KDWN's John Schaefer here, and that used to be me once. That was until I had a LASIK procedure at LASIK of Nevada. Dr. Rothman and the staff of LASIK of Nevada have performed over 50,000 LASIK procedures on athletes, celebrities, and regular Nevadans like me. Dr. Rothman takes the time to sit down and explain the entire LASIK procedure to you. It really makes you feel comfortable prior to the procedure. Don't like wearing those glasses or contacts? Then call LASIK of Nevada right now to set up your free consultation. 636-2010. That's 636-2010. You know, today's LASIK can be safer and more comfortable than ever before. In fact, the FDA says the advanced technology used by LASIK of Nevada is safe and effective. So what are you waiting for? Put on those glasses you hate and give LASIK of Nevada a call today, 636-2010, 636-2010, and set up your free consultation. There's a big, beautiful world out there. Why not see it more clearly?
Now back to KDWN's Legal Hour. Have a legal question? Call now. 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396.
KDWN News Time, 9:48. Last segment of the KDON Legal Hour for Tuesday with attorney Airene Williamson and accountant Robert Wagner. 257-5396 if you have a question or comment for either of the two. We're discussing Obamacare, the implications as a business owner, small and large, the tax implications, and basically what we're learning is that since nothing is really set in stone yet, we don't really know anything 100%.
Yeah, we're all just kind of floating in the water with some sharks right now, and we're not sure what kind of sharks they are, really, right?
Right, but there are certain things that you have to keep in mind for 2013 that I think businesses in general should know and should keep track of. And number one, which I've mentioned earlier, is now you have to prepare your notice. That's the notice of the exchange that's already in effect since, well, this month. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of businesses are not doing that. So you might want to keep that in mind and check that. Notices on the exchange, notices on your summary of benefits. That's something that you have to do and comply at this time. If you don't know how that works, call me, or you can also go to the Nevada Silver State Exchange, which is the exchange for Nevada, and they will provide you information on that. That's number one. Number two is you have to distribute what is called the medical loss ratio that we've talked about earlier. If there's certain insurance carrier that hasn't spent there's a certain amount of premiums, they will have to rebate that, and you as an employer are responsible for providing that rebate. So keep that in mind. Also, the W-2s that Robert has talked about, that's something that will have to change in 2013. Talk to your accountant. This is the time to do it. It's not the time to procrastinate because as soon as you know it, the enrollment, which is October 20 of this year, 2013, will be in effect, and you'll be scrambling finding that information. So those are the key compliance requirements that you have to keep in mind, whether you're a large or a small businesses. And we've talked about during the break on the tax consequences of Obamacare. And I think one Robert mentioned is the new investment tax. If I'm a small business and I'm earning more than $200,000, what is the effect on me?
If you're earning more than $200,000, there's a Medicare tax that goes into place that the employer is actually required to enforce the withholding on. And it's an increase of tax. The employee is not required to pay it at the end of the year. And that's been a lot of confusion. A lot of employees, a lot of high income earners have looked at it and said, wow, if I make over, it's actually over $250,000. If I make over $250,000, how much am I going to, what am I going to have to pay at the end of the year? They got this new excise tax, and what am I going to have to do? And the onus and the responsibility falls on the employer to withhold that. And if the employer is not withholding that, they can get themselves in a lot of trouble with the IRS.
Right. So what is the incentive for me to make more money?
Well, that's a tough question. Hopefully.
If you don't make more than $249,999, you're okay.
Yeah, just make between $150 and $249.99.
Yeah, right. And I think that's and I'm going to touch on that, is the consequences of this Obamacare. One of the consequences, I think, in my opinion, is disincentive to hire more employees. Obviously, if I'm a small business that is growing, I'm not going to want to have more than 50 employees. And if I do provide coverage for my 25 employees, I'm most likely going to drop it or choose to pay the penalty instead, because it's definitely a lot of burden for me to do a coverage.
And who's transferring those medical loss ratios? Or who's keeping track of it? Is it the employer or is it the insurance company?
It should be the insurance carrier, but the one that's keeping track of the employees and how they find them is going to have to be in the employer's burden. That's going to be the difficult thing to do, and we don't have. And at this point, I don't think there's any comments from the IRS how those medical loss ratios will be.
I think there'll be a lot of rebates sitting at the lost property for the state of Nevada State Treasury. I think they'll be tracking a lot more of those because it's hard to find employees after they leave, especially in Las Vegas and Nevada. It's such a transient state, and I don't know have you had anybody look on there, the lost property, and search your name and see if there's anything on there, because it's cool.
Yeah.
But I could see a lot of people having that issue where they have these rebates for these employees, and what do? You can't find them.
Exactly.
And what do you mail to the last known address? I'm going to mail a check to you at your last known address, knowing that you're not living in Las Vegas anymore, because I can't find out where you're at.
And as you talked about earlier, Robert, they're going to raise premiums because if you have to have something, of course, the cost goes up. Are they going to raise them even more because of this rebate problem they might be facing? They're going to think, well, I need to have that extra money just in case I have to provide these rebates because I don't spend enough over the course of the year, because I still need to make a profit.
Yeah, you're going to have staff to track all those medical loss ratios. And that staff increases the cost of doing business, increases premiums again, and off we go. Where's the ceiling on this?
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the issues that is presented by Obamacare, the difficulty is, what about those low-income workers? What do you think are the effects to the low-income workers, especially when there's a requirement that you have to provide affordable coverage? Do you think there's going to be kind of an increase in sort of a discrimination to choose the ones that are higher-income workers and not hire those low-income workers?
Well, the lower-income workers, I mean, depending on where the poverty level moves to and what that sets at, a lot of those low-income workers should be qualified for some of the state medical assistance. If they're not qualified for that, then they would fall into that exchange situation, and it may not be affordable to them. So we're outpricing again the low income earners and forcing them to stay at low income earners, and you're essentially eliminating everything in between the low income earners and the high income earners, and there's this big gap in the middle of people who are going to be paying the heaviest price when the low income earners are getting it for free. The middle income earners are paying the heaviest price and the heaviest hit, while the high income earners are going to be penalized the most. So the tax the most and penalize the most high income earners, and then the middle class and the middle that's evaporating is going to be the hardest hit as far as financially, because it's going to take them from someone making $50,000 a year. All of a sudden you force them into these higher premiums, and then it takes them down to $30,000 a year. You can't take 50 and live on 30.
Is there any provision in this at all for undocumented workers? Because we already know in the studies like UMC, those are the people who are using the emergency room as their primary care. We can deny it as much as we want, but everybody knows that there are large companies in this town that hire undocumented workers, right down to the guy that cuts your lawn is hiring people who are probably not here legally. How do they track those people who are a burden on the healthcare system? Will they be covered under this in some way, or is it still going to be a burden?
Well, under the individual mandate of Obamacare, they're not required, obviously, to get insurance, and that defeats the purpose of the requiring everybody insurance is to cover everyone, or to at least take on the burden of providing healthcare coverage to everyone. So that means as undocumented workers are not required under the individual mandate to provide healthcare coverage.
What about the ones that are, though they're undocumented, yet they're being paid and they're paying, Social Security taxes and things because they have a Social Security number. So they're they're your employee, and you need to count them as an employee. But are they really your employee at that point?
The question
is, do you just cut these people off completely?
The true question is, there's a textbook answer, and then there's the real life answer. Textbook, yeah, they are employees. You give them a W-2, they pay their souls. They should get the documents to get legal and get all that information. That's the textbook answer. The real life answer is, is it their Social Security number, or did they buy one? It's the fact of life. And when they bought the Social Security number, who does it belong to? Now you're getting into the identity theft problem, which is one of the biggest issues that the IRS is facing right now. Because, you can just buy a Social Security number. Oh, here's a Social Security number's birthday. Your name is Bill. Hello, Bill. And you never answered to Bill. You answered to whatever name you were given. But at the end of the day, Bill, with that Social Security number, is going to be attached as an employee of that particular company, wherever the undocumented worker is working, and he falls into that category, whether it's a small employer or a large employer.
Right. And first of all, as an employer, you have to do a verification I-9 compliance for one. And so that's going to be your burden to determine whether your employee is undocumented or documented in the first place. So that's additional administrative costs that are hidden in this Obamacare. And I guess, Robert, what's going to be your advice if anybody's thinking about trying to buy their way out of Obamacare or loopholes? And one of the things that I've heard is people are trying to split companies so they don't have to get to that 50 full-time employees.
That's what they're doing. They're taking it up, and they got 30 employees in each company. They're making 3 companies owned by one corporation. That's still 90 employees, either way you slice it up. They're at an aggregate total of the 3 companies that you own.
So just be careful. That's the lesson.
All right. Airene Williamson, Williamson Law Office, 608-4072, or you can reach Airene by email at info@wlawoffice.com. Next week, what will we be discussing?
We're going to talk about several compliance issues for employers in social media and contracts, and we hope to have a good discussion on that.
All right, Airene, we'll see you next week. Robert Wagner, thank you very much. Your show is on
Wednesday nights at 6 p.m.
All right, so if you need more tax information, listen to Wednesday nights at 6. Robert Wagner can help you out. Right now, we're going to check in with Ray Lucia on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Cracked radiator, $1,300.
Woohoo!
New brakes, $450.
All right.
Engine replacement, $4,000.
Sweet.
Yippee! Why is Rick so happy that his car needs repairs? Because he doesn't have to pay for them. Rick has AutoAssure. Now he never has to pay another penny for expensive covered repairs because AutoAssure pays them for him. To join Rick and never pay for another covered repair again, call right now for free information. 1-800-600-4650. It's guaranteed protection. Keep your money, keep your mechanic. AutoAssure pays them directly, and you choose the coverage you need. If your car has less than 200,000 miles, you won't pay for any covered repair. Not for a transmission, air conditioning, suspension system, or anything else. Expensive car repairs?
Bring it on!
You don't have to waste your own hard-earned money on expensive covered auto repairs. Let AutoAssure pay them for you. Call now for your free information. 1-800